Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining me as I explore a wide world of pens. So, those astute viewers may recognize this pen. There's a description here. And yes, it's a Hongdian 516 style verter and pen pouch. This is the pen pouch that came in this padded envelope. Here's the pen that came in the envelope. And you may say, yes, it's a new pen. And you may say, Chris, didn't you review a Hongdian 516? And I'll say, yes, I did, but that was the 516D. This is the 516. In that review, I mentioned that the pen seems to come in a number of different models. A couple viewers mentioned that the model seemed to change based on the section, and we'll explore that feature. But you may ask, why do I have another 516? Well, here's the story. When I got this great pen, inside my package was a nice little card, which basically said, thank you for your purchase. Send them an email, and they'll give you a discount coupon. So not to be one to not take advantage of an opportunity, I sent them an email, and then they sent me back a coupon code to use for this pen on Amazon. Here's how that coupon code worked. You put the pen in your cart, and you apply the coupon, and you can see I got it for half price. So how could I not buy this pen for that price? That's how this pen ends up in my hands. And of course, it got delivered in 2 days from the time of order to the time of delivery. So for those that seem to be challenged with some of the long delivery times from overseas, and I have a couple pens that seem to be stuck somewhere, check out Amazon. There's more and more pens available on Amazon, and most of them come with prime shipping. You got to be careful when you look at them. Some of them ship from China, but some of them ship from U.S. warehouses, and this was one of those. So we're just going to do a quick review of this pen, put an ink in it, see if it writes as well as the first one did. Stay tuned. For those of you that want more details on the pen, I'll put a link in to my original review where I take the pen apart, talk about all the little bits and pieces, use my LED light. This is not a video that I will do that. I love using a new ink, so we're going to use ultramarine. It's a really intense ink in the blue family. And yes, it does have some sheen. Not expecting to get it with this nib in this pen on the paper I'm going to be writing on. There's the chromatography. I did a review on all my Birmingham inks recently, so if you're interested in more detail, please check out that review. I'll put a link in the description. So how do you tell the pens apart? Well, without uncapping them, the top cap finial is engraved. The 516D here on the right side was the first one I got, and this 516 is the second. It's a really different engraving, different font. It has that Hongdian logo in the 516 one. But why are they different? Well, let's take the pop-off caps off, and we'll see that the viewers have talked about that designation discusses the different sections. So the D has a section with some grooves in it that I think make it a more pleasant metal pen, and it's a thin metal pen. This one doesn't have it. It appears that it might have some type of matte finish, but it's still pretty slippery. So that's the difference. The nibs are the same. Interesting, different style of nib there. It's an F on the back in that feed, which probably stands for fine, but it's a guess on my part. But the nib writes like a fine nib. So let's put that ultramarine ink in here and put nib to paper. So in case you were wondering, these caps are not interchangeable between the two pens. They won't fit on each other. So there's probably some dimensional differences in those sections in addition to the finish. And that is a shiny clip, extremely sturdy clip. Well, besides the section being different, the diameters are different. The 516D is 10 millimeters in the dimension here where the cap and barrel meet, and the 516 is 10.7. So it's not a significant difference, but it is there. And it is kind of obvious from looking at them, but obviously not as obvious to me as I thought it should be. Other than that, the pens are pretty well identical. Why they would make that one a little bit bigger, well, I think a little bit bigger is good. And also it weighs more. We'll give you the weights of the two pens. So I've inked it up and written with it. And you'll see how that Birmingham ultramarine ink works in this pen. I'm not a fan of the pen. Yeah, I know. Why do I have it? But that's another story. I like exploring all pens. And metal pens are certainly have a certain sweet spot for me as a metallurgist by training. But this is just a little too slippery. It is a little bit larger diameter, but it weighs more, so I think that kind of counteracts the writing experience from my feeling. And yes, it uncaps easily. The lengthwise, it fits okay in the hand. That section is certainly slippery and small. We give you the dimensions of the section just to put it in perspective. Not something I could use for long writing sessions at all. My fingers would get tired, they would get cramped, and they just slip too much. But let's see how the nib writes. So overall, I'm extremely pleased. The nib in my first 516 was good. This nib is smoother, and I attribute that to the ink. These rich inks from Birmingham just make every nib feel great on paper. I've no idea on what they've done to the inks, but whatever it is, I enjoy it. So I'm going to rate this pen, and it's not going to rate as high as the first one. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I'm going to give the nib with this ink one check, and that's it. It's just not comfortable to write with. It looks nice. It has potential. I wish they would have put more of a texture in that section, made the section slightly girthier, but they didn't. So therefore, that's where it stands. It is well made. Fit and finish are good, so that's why it gets what it gets. But, you know, I also have to be as objective as possible, and some people may love this pen, and it may be the perfect pen for them, but not for me. So this was just a quick review of a pen that came into my possession through some interesting approaches and discounting, so that's always fun. Thank you very much for watching. You can see how wet that nib is and how dense and saturated this ink is. Hope this video finds you safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens, putting some ink on paper, writing a letter, writing in a journal, doodling, sketching. I think there's a lot of things you can do with your pen. If you enjoy putting ink on paper, that's what we're here for. We've reached the end of this video, and we're going to say bye until the next video. I do love this ink, but not the pen.